Up. Call to order, meeting of the Caribou Planning Board. Item 1 on the agenda, minutes of the January 7 organizational meeting. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor? Next item, minutes of the January 7 regular Planning Board meeting. Motion to accept, please?
Second.
All in favor? Now, under old business, nuisance property ordinance. And this has come back from the city attorney, has been reviewed. And should I ask if there are any comments before we go to a public hearing?
Certain.
Any comments from any?
Was the hearing advertised?
Yes, it
Yes.
was. No comments? Okay, we will open a public hearing on the nuisance property ordinance. Is there anybody here tonight to speak about the proposed nuisance property ordinance?
That's interesting.
Seeing no one, we'll call the public hearing closed. I think we're probably ready, unless somebody thinks different, probably ready to vote this on to the city council.
Go ahead, Phil.
I move that we send it to the city council
With a recommendation
with recommendation to,
to pass.
To adopt it.
Yep.
Are you second?
I guess I will. I was waiting for Mr. Frame.
Any discussion? All in favor? Moving right along. Manufactured housing ordinance. Our manufactured housing committee representative isn't here tonight. And
I can speak to the highlights if you'd like me to.
Please do.
So this is the result of the work that the Mobile Home Advisory Committee has done. Do want to thank everybody that served on that, the citizens, the planning board members, and the counselors. So this ordinance would repeal the current ordinance that has a number of requirements, including dimensional requirements, road design, utility requirements, lighting, solid waste removal, and more. For the most part, this ordinance requires construction to be done in accordance with state standards. It requires a list of mobile homes to be presented to the assessor by April 15th of each year, and will be helpful in assessing, or in the assessing process to help the city keep track of the movement of trailers. So this is the first time the planning board is really taking a look at it. It was briefly discussed last time, but this is the first time that it's been being brought to the board after the completion of the committee. So the committee can discuss this. We would set a public hearing for our next regular meeting, have a public hearing at that point in time, and from there, make a recommendation to the council one way or another.
the only question that I had was on the last page, with the use of the word shingled, that the manufactured housing shall have a pitched shingled roof, but then down below under definitions, there's the definition of a pitched shingled roof shall have the same definitions as set forth in Title 30 AMRSA Section 4358. Does that include, I don't know if you know, if that definition includes metal roofing?
It would be allowed under that definition. Let me pull up the ordinance, or the state statute here, and
Because I'm thinking to myself, it doesn't have to be shingled, it can be a metal roof, correct?
and that was something that the committee did discuss. And after looking at the definition in state statute, it was decided that we would keep that, or they wanted to keep that.
Okay.
4358.
It may be that the wording allows them to refer to the state statute, so, and that would be the controlling
Yeah,
document.
well, under definitions.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So the definition from state statute, pitched shingled roof means a roof with a pitch of 2 or more vertical units for every 12 horizontal units of measurement, and which is covered with asphalt or fiberglass composition shingles or other materials, but specifically excludes corrugated metal roofing material.
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Excludes.
Excludes. So the other materials, as long as it's not corrugated,
Oh, they probably mean the continuously corrugated stuff,
right,
not the stuff that's ribbed.
more like
Which
the
is what she's-
siding, which would be corrugated, not the
You know,
ribbon. We can seek further clarification.
Yeah, I would, because metal roofing as done today is not really corrugated metal roofing.
Right.
It's ribbed for
And
strength.
I'm
every
sure they're
foot.
probably linking that towards back like the whole Andorra stuff that was corrugated. and-
Right.
It's one
Yeah.
continuous, I think.
Right.
Yeah, it was just wavy all the way across.
Right.
You said that the committee that reviewed this and sent it to us discussed this,
Right.
and they chose to leave it as is.
Right. Based upon the definition in state statute, which I think the because Mr. McDonough was there, the corrugated metal roof was kind of what Mr. McDonough just explained, the continuous corrugation, not necessarily the metal roofing that we have today.
Yeah, so, or other materials could include contemporary metal roofing,
Right.
just as long as it wasn't that corrugated stuff.
Or a
The statute
tin
just
roof or.
specifically
So it could be clay.
Right.
Does it, you
But by
still
other
got
ma-
that definition up there?
Yep. Which is covered with asphalt or fiberglass composition shingles or other materials.
Like,
So
somebody
does that
could-
include sod or hay,
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Somebody could throw tarp over it.
other materials? That's pretty broad.
It's true.
You just have plywood over it, or, you know.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's for us to try to rewrite the state statute.
No, but if we're gonna use it as a definition, I mean, I'm wondering if, notice, well, no, it's not the only thing in the definition, but, I wonder if they brought that into the definition paragraph because of its use up above.
Well, I'm sure.
I'm thinking that, I mean, this might need further, is that something you want to talk to the Maine Municipal Association about, or just see what their comments are?
Yeah, I'll reach out to the State Manufactured Housing Board. I think they'd probably be the
Okay,
best group to talk to, but we can talk with MMA as well, just to get some clarification as to.
and it was just the word shingled that caught my eye, and I was specifically thinking of metal.
Yeah, I would have just said or metal, but not, and then they linked it to the state standard, so, which is, except for corrugated metal, pretty broad.
Yeah. Was there a desire to move this along quickly, or is sending it back for further discussion, which is gonna delay things a month?
I don't know that this would warrant a need to send it back to that committee.
Well, not necessarily send it back to, no, I'm not saying send it back to committee, but what I'm saying is, I mean, you're gonna look into that.
Right.
The next step would have been for us to hold a public hearing at our regularly scheduled meeting a month from now.
Right.
Do we want to schedule that public hearing if we have a question on this use? In other words, if we've got to modify this before we go to public hearing, then what I'm saying is we're adding a month to before we put in for the public hearing. It puts its
Right.
final adoption a month later.
Right. We can go one of two ways. We can either table it tonight, get more information, or we can schedule a public hearing, work to get more information. If we don't end up changing anything in the ordinance and we have the public hearing, we don't change anything in the ordinance, we can act on it in March. If we want to substantially change the ordinance, we would need to have another public hearing. I don't think changing a definition like this would be considered substantial, because the majority of the ordinance would remain intact or as proposed.
Seems to me
Yeah.
that there's a possibility we might change that one line. We might not. I agree with Austin, it's not substantial. But there's likely to be some changes as a result of the public hearing. Well, maybe not even likely, but there may be. More substantial than that. I think we should have the hearing and then see what happens.
Okay, so,
And we might be able to make that modification next month, at the end of the hearing or during the hearing.
or just prior to the hearing? Can you
Or
do it?
after. Yeah, either
Yeah.
way, yeah.
Okay,
Is
well,
the-
let's,
Yeah, the citizens can comment on the ordinance as a whole or any piece of
Right.
it.
no,
But
it's just,
we could always make
it's a clarification.
Right. Yep.
So let's schedule the public hearing for next meeting?
Great.
You want
March
a
4th.
motion on that?
Sure.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, and you'll talk to the manufactured housing people about terminology.
Yep.
New business, Chapter 13 rewrite.
As we begin to work through the process of rewriting the Chapter 13, the zoning ordinances, wanted to recommend tonight that we go through the Chapter 13 by taking a section at a time, with the goal of one section per month. Some sections might take longer than a typical meeting would, or we might need to have a workshop, or however the planning board would like to do that. Section 1 is brief, it's here for review tonight. I'm only recommending one change, this can be seen in red if your copies are colored there, I'm not sure. Committee has an official copy of the ordinance, everybody should have an official ordinance. If anybody would like a working copy, one that you can write on, scratch up, highlight, cross out, let us know, we can get you a copy for those purposes as well. So on the following page, is section 1 of, section 1. The only change is the effective date. So the ordinances would take effect and be enforced from the effective date pursuant to the Caribou City Charter.
Would you have knowledge if this is a list of the purposes for ordinances. Is this list something that is homemade, unique to Caribou, or is this standard boilerplate across the United States?
It's not uncommon to find it around Maine. I'm not going to say it's common across the United States because each state is different. But it's not uncommon to find a purpose with these general things all listed out in other planning or land use ordinances across the state. There's no real need for us to list out purposes in the ordinance. It just gives you a general idea.
I think that they're helpful
Yeah.
if someone wants to bone up on the ordinances in the city. They can go through each section and start with that and find out if there's something that interests them or not,
Yeah.
based on those purposes.
Well, and my understanding is, we are a legislative body. We're a municipal, the planning board is a legislative body, and the legislation we create are ordinances.
Correct.
And if you take that to the state legislature level, I wish they had a purpose attached to all of their statutes, because a lot of times, intention of a statute gets totally lost when enforcement regulations are written. And you wind up with regulations that have no bearing whatsoever on the intent of the statute. So I like these purposes. A little bit of political digression there. Any members have any changes other than what's been suggested about the effective date? So you want us to approve these as you bring them?
We'll just take the consensus and we'll vote to approve everything as one large package. So we'll just take it as a consensus that this is okay to the board. And next month we'll work on section 2.
Good to go.
Okay. Sounds good to me. I will go back and review section 2.
The Next item of business is the independent living, and
Yeah. I just wanted to put this on the agenda just so the planning board is aware. I'm sure you all have read in the newspaper, I think it was the Worcester Republican first or second edition of the new year, talking about an independent living project that was coming to Caribou. Caribou people looking to build housing, senior housing for independents. We've had some conversations with the group. We anticipate that the engineer for that or the architect will be submitting some sort of plans to go along with that. Because the proposed location of the project is within the H1 district, congregate housing, which this project will be, would require a site design review for the planning board. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that it is coming down the pipe. I'll let you know when we receive the application or for the site design review and the plans. That way everybody can stay on top of things. From the city standpoint, we never want to hold up development, and so we might need to have a special meeting to facilitate the timetables that they'd be looking at, but just wanted to give the board a heads up as to that's coming down.
I read that article and my eyes popped when unless I read it wrong, I thought it said, well, we want to start construction in March. And I'm saying, really?
They would like to start construction this spring. I don't think March is going to be realistic with the weather. But I think April to early May would be a more realistic time frame, just given.
Well, they should be getting their application in pretty darn soon.
Right.
yeah.
I know that they're working with their architect or engineer, and from their standpoint, they should have things ready to submit within the next couple of weeks.
So this will be on our next month agenda.
Yeah, because the planning board has to first review the plan, the application as a concept plan, and then the second month, 30 days later per ordinance, they have to review the plan, have a public hearing, discuss, debate, and approve, or deny the application.
So that takes us to the first week of April.
Approved with conditions,
Correct.
yeah.
But I think construction season wouldn't
They'd
really
pro-
be started
Given the
until-
way the ground is right now, they'd probably be a little tail into April before they
I
could probably start
suspect the
digging.
ground is well frozen.
So just wanted to give the committee a heads up as to that potential project coming down the pipe for our review.
Speaking of potential projects, I read about a brew pub coming. Do we know where that's going to go, or where it might go?
I know that group is looking at and considering several different
Well, they're still working
locations. They have not settled on,
Okay.
on a location. But I've chatted with them about, they've asked me if various locations would meet ordinance or code. And so we've had all those conversations, but no final
Okay,
locations
that's
been
fine.
determined.
I find that it's an interesting project.
Okay, that's it for the independent living?
Correct.
So now we go to this,
Right, so we received this site design application from Facilities Inc. Yesterday. They're proposing a project at 7 Russ Street where their office headquarters are. It's in a C2 zone, which is fine for office, but they'd like to add an apartment in roughly half of the building or a third of the building that they're currently in. So adding a residential use into a C2 zone requires site design review application. So the application is here tonight. As it says, the planning board will review applications first as a concept plan, which is intended to ensure the proposed plan is in conformance with the comprehensive plan and all city ordinances. So we'll have the completed application, the plans delivered, which most of it's here. There's a few things that I've noticed that I need to verify. Boundary survey might be necessary, but I don't believe the stormwater management, erosion, sediment control, those types of things would be, because they're not proposing any change to the exterior. It's all an interior remodel.
I see there's an estimated cost of infrastructure improvements, 2,000. Is that the total estimated cost, or is that just infrastructure?
That would just be their infrastructure costs.
So there, we don't have do we have an estimate on the cost of the total renovation?
No, that's, that would be part of a building permit, which is outside of the scope of the site design review.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, what they're gonna spend is not really our business.
No, but it gives you an idea of how large of a project it is. If
Well,
we're just,
take a look at the plan.
Yeah, the very back page is a plan
Oh,
of what they're
I haven't seen that.
proposing.
so this is existing space that doesn't have these partitions.
Correct.
You look down on the bottom, looks like there's a wall going directly into a window.
Yeah, well, that'll be their problem. I guess they're gonna probably take that window out.
Have to move some windows.
Good catch.
Is this gonna be, do you happen to know if this is gonna be one of their rental properties that they're,
That is their intention, is to turn it into a rental property.
would it then need to have an automatic fire detection system?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the questions I will be talking with the fire chief and the state fire marshal's office about, and they would need to have, the barrier,
Yeah, they need to,
fire barrier.
Yep.
So is this gonna be on the ground floor or second floor?
it's only a single-story dwelling.
It's only a
A
single,
single-story structure, should I say?
It's right at the corner.
so they're taking the office and turning it into an apartment, so no more office?
No, the building is about twice this size, I believe.
Oh, okay.
So half of it they're turning into an apartment, the other half is staying office space for them. Half of them they're proposing to turn into it.
Hence the note, this portion has its own heat, meaning this portion over here.
No, well, the walls
No windows there.
fade out. So from a zoning perspective, it's permissible with our approval?
Correct.
Is it gonna meet the space criteria, X number of square footage? Because it can't be more than, what, 50% of the space?
We'll have to verify that, but I think they would. But, yeah.
Which end of the building are they gonna put the apartment in?
My understanding, it would be the west side of the building, further from Main Street, closer to,
So down where the existing office is, because the end that's closest to Main Street at one time was automobile repair shop. Just a heads up,
okay.
okay? 'Cause that building used to be a car dealership.
This will be reviewed by the fire chief.
Correct, yep.
I see only one means of entrance and egress,
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
which I'm wondering if that's sufficient or if there needs to be. I see that the only access into the furnace room is gonna be through the living area and through the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of different. Well, we'll let the fire chief sort that out.
Right.
So what action are you looking for from us?
No real action is required here tonight. It's just a general review of the concept of the plan. And to get general feedback and make sure that if you guys had any questions or specific things that you wanted us to look at or investigate, that we would do that.
If it's allowed in the zoning, I mean, I'm all in favor of any and all development. So. Questions from anybody else?
Well, I
This is
just,
coming back to us?
Correct. This will come back at the March meeting. We'll have to have a public hearing on it as well, and the neighbors within 500 feet need to be notified, so.
Okay.
I'd be interested in Chief Susi's opinion about the single entrance. And the furnace access as well.
That wall around the furnace looks,
That's cinder block, I'm
I
willing to
was gonna
bet you.
say, quite thick, like a cinder block. So. Okay, so there's no action required on this. We'll look at it next, next meeting.
March 4th.
Is there any other business to come before us?
At the last meeting, the board asked about the,
Burgess. The Burgess?
yes, the Burgess,
Yep.
thank you. The fire chief has inspected that for life safety issues. Found 3 or 4. A letter has gone out to Mr. Burgess, giving him a few weeks to correct those. And fire chief will go back and do another inspection to make sure those issues have been corrected before we issue the final letter of okay.
Okay, perfect. It's underway. Good.
Anybody have anything else?
No, sir.
We have a motion to adjourn?
Second?
Second, all in favor? Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.